Hi, this is Mick Wingert, and you're listening to the FSF Popcast.
Hello, guys, and welcome to the FSF Popcast. I'm Tim. I'm your host, and of course, Kathleen, my trusty sidekick, is always here with me. That is you, yes. And today we have a guest who has made his way back to the FSF Popcast, which also means that he should know better, but he came here anyway. We somehow talked him into it. But we are thrilled to welcome back the voice of Heimerdinger from Arcane, Toney Stark in Marvel Animation. There's the Joker in Batwheels. Kung Fu Panda. And so much more. And so much more. Guys, Mick Wingert, welcome back to the show.
Everyone. I like the sound of my own voice.
Your voice has been playing a lot in my house lately.
Oh?
Batwheels has made its way back around into my daughter's watch through, which makes me very happy.
I love that. That's such a great show with so much heart to it. I love playing the Joker on it, but actually, I really love playing Mo. Mo is kind of the, he's the Orko of the whole Batwheels set, for those of you who are old enough to get that reference. Right, boss? That's right. Mo.
I love it.
I don't need to host, by the way. I'll just do this thing for an hour. Let's do my routine, and we'll call it a day. No. How's that?
Voice actors.
And that's the show. There we go. I'd actually be okay with that. I could honestly just, if I'd have known, I'd have brought popcorn. That's the only thing.
Man, I already
ate almost... Yeah, you already ate all your bacon, so you're screwed. So, all right, Mick. So the last time that you were here, I believe Batwheels was actually on the verge of getting ready to be released. You had just kind of announced it, and I believe you were wearing a Batwheels T-shirt underneath, and you're like, "Look what I'm in," So yeah, there was that, exactly. Yeah, and season 1 of Arcane was just recently out, and the world was abuzz about Arcane and everything else that was happening. So, Mick, what's new in your world that our viewers and listeners would be interested in knowing about?
Well, thank you for that intro in terms of like the retrospective. That's cool. Yeah. What I will say is, What If season 2 just dropped over the holidays to fairly positive reviews, and my lost episode from season 1 was included in season 2. The Sakaar episode where I got to basically be Toney Stark in the middle of a death race. And that was so fun to watch. I sat with an old friend of mine, and I have not seen it. They didn't give me any warning. I don't think I had any ADR for that episode, or if I did, it was minimal. And so I didn't see a whole lot of the sequences and stuff. I was blown away by how that episode turned out. There are a couple of others, right? There's the Happy Hogan turns into the freak and saves Christmas, which Toney is in for a minute. And then there's also, the 1602 episode where, the Avengers gather in the middle of the Renaissance, and that had some Toney in it. And I remember doing some ADR for that episode. But the Sakaar episode was absolutely that was what I was hoping would drop in season 1. And getting to share the screen with Jeff Goldblum and Cynthia McWilliams, who plays Gamora in that, and Valkyrie. Why can I not? Tessa Thompson, who plays Valkyrie. Yeah. I mean, and Taika Waititi. I mean, to be able to be in that and have all of those incredibly talented actors, screen actors and voice actors, and have such a seminal role in the whole episode was mind-boggling for me. That was a huge, huge deal. It's one thing to be Kung Fu Panda, and we did 80 episodes of Legends of Awesomeness and 20 some odd episodes of Paws of Destiny. And that's a franchise character, and I was arguably the lead of the show. But it's not the same, right? It's not the same as carrying on a legacy from the Marvel Cinematic Universe in in a mashup of two beloved properties, right? Iron Man being a beloved property, and Thor Ragnarok being a beloved film within the franchise, like getting to be in the midst of that matchup, and they gave it that cinematic treatment where every name came across the screen in the pre-credits, which Legends of Awesomeness, arguably much bigger job, much wider exposure. But I got end credits at the end with everybody else just like for a second, just to fulfill the SAG minimum. And then we were out, right? So nobody was watching it, but this is like the lead in and everybody's names flying off the screen. And I'm second billing. I was like, I've never had something like that. What if totally blew my mind. I can say too, speaking, you spoke of Arcane, you were asking like what's on the horizon. Here's what I will say, because I have to be very, very careful.
Understood.
I will say that I did get a chance to do a screening of at least one episode of season 2, and fans are going to have their minds blown. Your minds will be blown. That's all I can say.
Consider them pre-blown now, and then they will be officially blown once it comes out. Yeah.
And I've been really happy to get some really positive feedback lately on my work as the talking flower in Super Mario Wonder, which is super fun. That's another one of those prestige gigs where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm part of this universe. I was like worldwide famous for about 10 minutes when somebody, I think on Reddit, it could have been 4chan though. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I think it was 4chan. Somebody on 4chan had hacked an early copy of the game and saw the cast list, but we cast members were not accredited with what roles. But through process of elimination, they knew that it was either me or Kevin Afghani, who was the new voice of Mario after Charles Martineau had announced his retirement. And for about 10 minutes, I had every news source in the world calling my agents, calling me. It was so cool, kind of, because I was like, oh, everybody thinks everybody thinks I'm a big deal. They're going to be really disappointed when they find out that I'm not Mario.
And there's my 15 minutes of fame. All right, yeah, that was fun, guys.
And we're done.
I'm back to being Mick. Okay.
But I've been getting really positive reviews as my work for my work as the talking flower, and arguably he has as many lines, if not more, than Mario in the game. And I'm having people contact me on social media. That's at Mick Wingert on Threads, Instagram, Blue Sky, and the artist formerly known as Twitter. At Mick Wingert. But I've been getting some great feedback just saying like, oh, it's my favorite part of the game. It's so fun. It's, he's cheering me on, and that's super fun.
That's cool.
So that's been kind of a big deal, and as it's been landing.
Nice.
Yeah. That actually is like a perfect segue to one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because we had talked last time about you being a voice match for Jack Black.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking, I'm like, well, if Jack Black was the voice of Bowser for the Mario Brothers movie, if they did more with Mario Brothers and they cast you as Bowser, which would be fantastic. And I feel like
yes,
you're either wanting to talk about it or you can't talk about it. I saw the eyes. Anyway. But I mean, I love Jack Black's rendition of Bowser. Like, I love the way that he portrayed Bowser so much. And part of that,
it's so like universally beloved.
Well, except for my daughter. My daughter absolutely hates it.
Oh, really?
She hates it. She absolutely hates the Peaches song. To the point where when we go grocery shopping and we're in the produce section, I cannot even look at Peaches without her being like, Mom, don't do it. Don't do it. And I'm like, but they're so cool. Don't do it.
You know what I'm gonna sing to her the next time she comes on the video to chat with me, right? Okay.
Do it. Yeah, she absolutely hates the song. It's hilarious.
Is what that is. Yes.
But I was thinking about it.
I'm like,
if you got to do Bowser's voice in a new Mario cartoon or a Mario game, what would you want to add to his backstory to make us love to hate the King of the Koopas that much more?
Gosh, what would I add to his backstory? I wouldn't be allowed, because I'm not a writer, as it were, right? That's the writing room and the showrunners and stuff. But I would say that and I'm talking a little bit out of my depth here because I was not tapped to do anything for Jack as Bowser at all. But fingers crossed. And I don't know. I mean, I honestly, it's not even just me being an industry insider. Like, I don't know of any projects that are coming up in regard to that. But his performance as Bowser is really seminal. And so I don't know what I would add to his backstory. I'm a little out of my depth because I'm not as familiar with what they put into his backstory, but definitely would lean into his lovelornness, maybe a jilted attempt at romance in his younger years that drove him to be the terrible, king of the Koopas that he became. Right, jilted by his high school sweetheart or would-be high school sweetheart. I guess let me try that again. Jilted by his high school crush. That would be the simpler way of saying that. And working out his issues that way. That's what I think I would try to bring to the table.
Stood up at the Koopa prom.
Yes. Oh, man. Can you see him in his
hand?
It would be like a version of the Bowser groom amiibo outfit, right?
With the he'd definitely have to have the ruffly.
With yeah. Except that it would be like burgundy polyester with like a pink ruffled shirt and one of those giant 70s bow ties.
Yes.
Amazing. And if not burgundy, powder blue.
Powder blue.
I would actually prefer the powder blue because that just seems more.
Bowser would look good in powder blue, anyway.
Right?
He'd rock the powder blue
with a with a pink corsage that he's got and a little pink boutonniere that he's wearing. Oh. I'm seeing it.
And Nintendo, now
I'm looking at you.
And now I'm feeling bad for a cartoon character.
And I just need him to do one line for me because if he's wearing a powder blue tuxedo, I need him to have a Jerry curl wig and do a line from Coming to America. It's sexual chocolate.
No, I'm not saying that.
Like Randy Watson.
No, I'm not saying that. But yes, the moment you're going for, I hear you.
No, I don't need you to say it.
We live in a world of sound bites and AI, and there's no way you're going to get me to impersonate Jack Black saying that for your podcast. Sorry.
No, I get it. I wasn't asking you to say it. I just heard that in my head. Yeah. I just heard that in my head, and all of a sudden I'm just imagining Bowser like stomping across the stage, waving a handkerchief with the boutonniere in one hand, of the handkerchief in the other, and sexual chocolate. Anyway.
And now, a word from our show sponsor, Level Up Sabers. Their link can be found in the show notes.
Well, another thing you did, Mick, is you were kind enough to do an email interview for our website.
Oh, yeah.
I appreciate you doing that. That was really cool. And we've had I've had some messages sent to us. People appreciated it. They liked reading it. And so it'd been very cool that you did that. Now, in the email interview, you talked about how the version of Batwheels, Joker rather, for Batwheels, was made for preschoolers and how that was a challenge for you. I was hoping that you'd be willing to expound a little bit more on that.
Sure.
Because, what specifically about the character increased the difficulty level?
So when you're doing a character for a preschool show, whether you're a protagonist or an antagonist or supporting character, you got to remember your audience. Now, Kathleen has a 5-year-old at home, and here's what I know about 5-year-olds I learned from my wife, is that brain development is a physiological process that affects how they can see the world. So until the age of about 7 or so, all of us are known as are what is known as, I don't speak English, I'm sorry.
I barely
All
do
of us
either. It's
are
fine.
what are known as concrete thinkers. All I'm trying to say is we think concretely. We are not capable or as capable of abstract thought.
Okay.
Which means that if, for a preschooler, if a character exists on TV, even if it's a cartoon, that person, that character exists in the real world to some degree. Which is why so many of us who in the 70s and 80s grew up with the yearly broadcast on CBS of The Wizard of Oz were traumatized by the fact that Margaret Hamilton was so scary as the Wicked Witch of the West. Because when we were that little and watching it, even on television, even though this was a movie from the 40s, that person existed. And she's terrifying. So you have to be careful when you're writing a show for young kids that the concrete versions of the characters that you're giving them to live in their actual world are approachable and safe, even if they're antagonistic. So
Oh, yeah.
the
Okay.
the version of the Joker that you're getting in Batwheels, just like the version of the Riddler that you get in Batwheels and the version that you get of the Penguin and any of the other Bat villains, and also why they don't have characters like Zsasz and Killer Moth and that kind of thing, is because the versions of these characters need to be approachable so that they are not a legitimate threat to the kids themselves. They become sillier versions, or I always call them nerfed. They get nerfed like you would nerf a video game character.
Sure. Yeah,
you nerf what's at stake so that they're still palatable to the audience. Now, it's a delicate dance because if you nerf a character too much, they just become insipid, even for a preschooler. So that becomes very not compelling. And that was the challenge. The challenge was, how do I honor versions of the Joker that have gone before? Most seminally, of course, Mark Hamill's version of the Joker from Batman the Animated Series, which in my estimation was the definitive and is the definitive performance of that character.
Yeah.
At least in animation. I would even put it up against some of the cinematic versions, but in the cinematic versions, you're going for something completely different. Mm-hmm. So if you're talking about comic books being directly adapted to a visual media, I think Hamill's version in animation is the closest you're going to get to the original intent of the Joker. And everything in the cinematic universes that you see is an extrapolation and kind of a use of that character in a new story, a new like milieu.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think Hamill's is absolutely seminal. And because of that, I wanted to honor that. I also wanted to honor, the Joker I grew up with, which was the one that was featured occasionally in the Batman and Robin cartoon and the crossover cartoons that Batman and Robin did with Scooby-Doo. And that guy was a lot more like this, right? It's the Joker. Because it was the 70s and, that's what they thought kids wanted to watch. So I was like, okay, so this is for preschoolers. The Joker's been my dream character since Nicholson played him in the 80s, and even before that, I always liked the character. I just love the theatrics of purple and green and that white face and just the whole clown Prince of Crime, and that's what they were looking for, was this feeling of fun clown, kind of the role the Joker took in the 60s after the comic book code started to be enforced and Batman went on all these wacky adventures. The Cesar Romero version of the Joker was based on that, the clown Prince of Crime. And so Batwheels wanted to get back to that, but with kind of a modern vibe. So I gave him kind of that little thing that Hamill does, right? Where he goes up and down and then he gets really low like that. And he does that kind of thing. But I knew that I couldn't take it too dark. Right? Oh, bats, you and me were designed to do this dance forever. Right? He does that whole thing and he gets all dark. Well, they can't have that in a show for 4-year-olds. So I kind of went down here like this, but I always kept him very goofy. And then I would throw in my big laugh and I made him a bit musical so that I would lean into the goofiness. And every once in a while, he gets a little Stewie Griffin in there, too. like when he gets huffy. There's an episode out now where he plays Dr. Joke, and basically it's that Redbird who's like the Robin. He's Robin's little sport car vehicle in the Batwheels, and he's kind of like the kid brother character. So Redbird has been reading these James Bond equivalent comic books and fancies himself a super spy. So he gets, Mo gives him some super spy gadgets and he starts to crack this case, and Joker is there and he's got his like Nehru jacket and everything else. And the original version, in the original script, it was Jokefinger. He was playing Jokefinger, which I thought was hysterical. But S&P wouldn't let it go because they just were being cautious, even though there's nothing about Jokefinger that is untoward. They wanted to avoid even the appearance of being untoward. So he became Dr. Joke.
I get it, yeah.
And so, there's several moments in the Dr. Joke episode where he goes down here like this before he comes back up here like that. It's so fun. I would encourage all of you, if you have, it's on HBO Max. I think they do broadcast them on Cartoon Network as well. But on HBO Max, you can watch them at will.
It's probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's just such a great episode. There's another one where he and Harley are, throwing bananas all over the city to make the people slip and fall and do pratfalls for physical comedy, and they have to be stopped. And that's the kind of thing that is super fun to play, but it is a challenge because we all know the Joker in his more modern version, right? We know him as the psychotic, homicidal, man who laughs.
Right.
And that needs to be honored at the same time as it needs to be, you need to make sure that your audience can still connect.
That's a great answer, and it makes a whole lot of sense now that I hear you explain it, because
thanks.
I was curious about what the differences could be, because I haven't watched a ton of Batwheels. I don't have any 5-year-olds in my house. Although that answer also doesn't hold a lot of weight, because I do watch some Bluey. So,
you have to practice for being a grandpa.
I'm getting there. My first grandson's coming in a little over a month. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very excited about that. His name is Lucas, and I can't wait for Lucas to get here.
And his daughter-in-law posted ultrasound pictures the other day, and he's got the chubbiest cheeks.
Massively chubby cheeks. I just want to chew
on you. So sweet.
Just like, in the ultrasound picture, even like looking at how gigantic these cheeks are, I'm like, oh my word.
Dude, yeah, it's pretty adorable. But so I hadn't seen a lot of it. I've seen enough, but there.
Like, look at the.
Oh my God, she's so cute.
Yeah, so I can't wait for him to get here. But so I'm gonna watch all these kind of fun shows with him and all this stuff. But I hadn't thought about the, because even though I've had 3 children and my youngest is now 17, I hadn't thought about it from the aspect of kids having more of a concrete mind at that age. And you're absolutely right. Now that I think about it for a hot minute, going, okay, yeah, that would make sense why they need to nerf the character. I'll use your phrasing, because that actually makes that just easier for me. But yeah, when something's overpowered and something that shouldn't be in video games, we nerf it. We bring it back down to, to make it palatable. And so, yeah, nerfing Joker to a 5-year-old's level where he's not scary, but still holds true to the character. Now I see the connection. Now I see why it was a challenge. Now it actually makes me appreciate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It
makes me appreciate. Yeah, and it makes me appreciate your job even a little bit more, honestly, and the way that you went about it. Because now I see the challenge. It's just when you were explaining it in the email in the interview, I was like, oh well. Okay, I get why it could be a challenge, maybe. Okay. But now it makes more sense to me, and so yeah. So hopefully somebody else who thinks a lot like me goes, oh yeah, okay, cool. I want to watch more of that now.
Well, and hopefully anybody who does watch the show and is, a Batman universe purist and might, shake their fist that this doesn't feel like the Joker as they want them to feel, will understand why. Like, there's method here. Like, and I don't mean method acting, but like there's a reason that characters for certain shows have to look certain ways, even if they are a totally franchise character that's already existed, right? Even if they are an IP that we are familiar with. Even Batman, like one of the things that the EP Michael Stern has said several times in interviews is what he loves about Ethan Hawke's version of Batman is that his version for Batwheels is kind of like the grumpy dad. Like he's like overseeing all of these kids and he's like, oh, now I got to do something else, right? Like he's got to like go fix the swing set or whatever. And he says there's just this really fun, relatable quality to Hawk's Batman that's great for preschoolers.
And honestly, now this is even kind of clicking in a little bit more because I watched a few episodes of Spidey and His Amazing Friends, the Disney Junior show. And now that I think about it, all the villain characters are done the same way.
Green Goblin there and Doc
Ock and even the
scary.
Hulk, who can be a little scary at times, is not scary in this.
And
it's like,
think
okay,
about
you said my mind was going to be blown with Arcane season 2. My mind is now blown with this. It'll have to come back together so it can get reblown for Arcane.
You're welcome.
But if you think about too the way that Lego nerfs characters, I mean, Lego Darth Vader is totally different.
He likes tacos.
Scary Rogue One hallway Darth Vader,
right?
Very well, true.
And also, you look at the Lego properties, even when they are using dialogue that they've licensed from film properties, they will throw in plastic banana and a fish and fish skeleton slapstick humor over the existing dialogue to make it silly and funny and nerfed.
Yeah, honestly, one of my favorite Lego Star Wars shorts or episodes or whatever, I don't remember which one it is, Palpatine and Vader go on vacation.
That's funny.
And Palpatine has gotten a beach resort, and the interaction between them when Vader finds out that it's a beach and that there's sand, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Oh no. Those levels of jokes, because to little kids they're like, oh yeah, that's funny. To the grown-ups watching it with little kids, they're like, sand.
Yeah,
oh, no.
Exactly.
Man.
I just did, or I should say it just came out. I want to say it came out over the summer, the Marvel Lego Avengers Code Red. And there's some really fun, slapsticky, kid-friendly humor in that too, where Black Panther and Iron Man are, everybody's like falling down this giant trapdoor chute and they get separated and we get thrown into the trash. And I think Iron Man's line is something like, well, at least they could have put me in recycling, for goodness sake, something like that. Yeah, and I'm probably misquoting it because it was a long time since I recorded it, but it's that kind of sensibility.
That sort of concept. I
love that kind of super fun, silly, lighthearted.
I will definitely look at those shows a little bit differently now.
See, for sure. It's fun to me is when you realize as a parent how many jokes they put in to kids shows for you.
Oh, SpongeBob.
Oh, SpongeBob is not a kid's show at all. But even
in theory.
even in there's an episode of Bluey where there's a joke that I'm like, oh, I am glad my daughter doesn't understand that. Because Chili comes out on her bicycle and Bandit is very excited about seeing his wife and his camera goes off. But it's just the look, and as the camera flashes and the Polaroid picture pops out, and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad she doesn't get that. So glad she doesn't understand.
How you doing?
Or
in Trolls, the newest Trolls movie in Band Together. So the Bergens are on their honeymoon, and there's a line as the Bergens have been tied up and are being kidnapped. There's a line from Bridget that's not how she anticipated getting tied up on her honeymoon, and I'm like, as my husband and I are sitting next to each other in the theater, and my daughter's next to me watching the movie, and my husband and I both looked at each other and went, oh,
spicy.
Oh.
No. Daddy, why does she need ropes?
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy.
I'm so glad I'm past that point.
Oh man. So Mick, you actually voiced a character in one of the biggest and most anticipated video games of 2023. It seems
Yeah.
there were news reports and videos about it daily, which is actually one that I haven't played yet. But the game is Starfield, which I got wrapped up in Tears of the Kingdom, and I fell down that rabbit hole.
It's okay. Everybody did.
I haven't actually finished the game yet because it's oh, look, another quest over there. Oh, look, shiny. Yeah. ADHD in an open world is a bad combination.
I get it. I mean, I love an open world game, but I'm also attention deficit.
Oh man, it's like, and
Did I take my meds today? I don't think I took my meds today.
Oops.
Yeah. I think I missed my meds today.
So there's that.
That's always a fun moment. But have you played Starfield?
I haven't played it yet, but it was really fun to record, and the folks at Bethesda are amazing to work with. They know exactly what's going on, and it's, I had very Fallout vibes when I was
I love Fallout.
when I was recording it, because it is, I mean, we recorded it very dialogue tree style, right? Like, here's your interaction, here's what their reaction, that character's reaction, they're going to say one of two things, they have three options to reply to you. Let's go down this path and we'll record this dialogue, let's record down that dialogue. And it was super fun. Yeah, I mean, lots of press about Starfield, and it was really cool. They wanted us to sit on that until it was completely released and everything was announced, though.
Ooh.
So there were times where they were releasing some information about Starfield, but we couldn't speak to any of it until everything was out.
Oof.
So like they might have introduced main cast members or whatever, but we ancillaries were still told, please don't say anything about the game, don't talk about your role, don't say that you're in it, just radio silence until we give you the word. Video game properties are super NDA when it comes to that stuff, and you'd think that there'd be a reasonable accommodation, but there isn't always a reasonable accommodation. Sometimes it is, we want to make sure nothing gets out except as we control it.
Yeah.
We need to control the narrative here for marketing purposes, corporate, whatever, espionage, all that stuff. We want to protect the IP, so it's just better if nobody says anything. And that's kind of how it was.
I can only imagine with Bethesda, with as many massive games as they have, that's a big thing for them with the nope.
Huge.
Don't touch it.
Don't touch it. Yeah. I usually, even just saying, for example, what I said about Arcane, I don't think Riot is as precious about it as they have been, but I try not to say anything to anyone because I want to keep working.
Yeah.
Well,
it's really, it can get that pressure for the fans. It's not, and as an actor, there's part of me that thinks, don't you want me promoting your movie? I'm like, this is free promotion that I could be doing on podcast interviews, on,
right.
Obviously nobody wants their movie experience spoiled. Nobody wanted to know the secret of Empire Strikes Back before it was released. That would have been a tragedy.
Right.
For everybody's viewing experience. However, like, just not being able to even say I'm in the project, I would think that you'd want to start building momentum. But I'm not in the marketing department, and I don't know how it works. So
that part surprises me. I understand not giving away, plot details, character details, things along those lines. But just to be able to say, hey, when you're on a show like ours or doing an interview or somewhere that, are you part of this game? Yeah, I'm part of the game. I can't say a whole lot, but yeah, it's going to be really great. I recorded some lines, have some general conversation about it because, like you said, that's free publicity. So I'm kind of surprised about that portion, but also not very surprised.
I have a feeling it's like when you're on a medication and it tells you do not consume alcohol on this medication. It's probably safe to drink a drink, But you're going to have that person who's like, well, if one's safe, then two's safe. So they're
That's
just going to tell
probably
you
true.
that none of it, because
Look,
they
and
don't
if
want
two's good,
right.
if two's okay, we're definitely going for 3.
I mean, if I'm already having 2,
right.
it's not a big leap to have a 3rd. It really
I'm
is.
already there. I'm already there.
I'm halfway there.
Unfortunately, that mindset is far too prevalent, and that's probably why they're just like, no, we're just going to be like, you can't talk about it at all. Because we don't want somebody to be like, well, I just was talking about this part.
They make up those rules for people like this guy.
Right? I mean, it's the Tom Holland effect is what it is.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right, exactly.
Couldn't put that kid on an interview without a handler.
I absolutely love some of those interviews where he just starts talking and you can just see the guy next to him, his eyes get really big and just be like, or I've seen it where they've actually like reached out and put their hands over his mouth to shut him up.
Right?
You know, they're like, no, you can't say that. Shut up. So, Mick, one of the things I don't recall talking about the last time you were with us, and maybe we did, but I went back through the notes and I don't remember talking about it. So, you know, if I did, correct me. But I don't recall. What's that?
I said it's not the frozen Tegu.
No,
we did talk about that.
We definitely talked about that.
That was an exclusive. Did you guys ever get any fan commentary about that?
Actually, I believe we did. I will check. I will look it up in a moment.
That's funny. That's funny.
So one of the things I don't recall though is that I don't think we talked about you being an acting coach, a voice coach.
Oh yeah.
And so my curiosity is always piqued when people do things. I like to know what kind of got them to that point. You know, that's one of the things we talked about with you when you were here last time. What got you into acting? You know, what kind of got you moving and all of those things. So now I'm curious, what got you into wanting to be a coach, a teacher, an instructor of acting and voice acting?
Yeah. Thanks for asking that. When I was a kid, there was a phase during which I felt like I wanted to be a teacher. Around the 13 or 14 when I was in middle school, I thought maybe I want to do this for a living. And then through high school, when you're learning the creative arts, and you're learning specifically stage technique for acting, like there aren't a lot of high school drama programs that teach you how to act for film or act for the microphone or some of the other ways of performing that are actual careers or that are media based. It's all very classics oriented. So if you're a kid and you're interested in acting, you're taking a theater class in high school or college. You're learning how to act on stage, which, stage acting's never going to go away. And it does not have the cultural power. That is not how we tell our stories anymore. Mm-hmm. Usually stage is for spectacle now. That's why all the big hit shows on Broadway, all the musicals are adaptations of movies at this point, or existing IPs. That's why you had Spider-Man the Musical and Shrek and The Lion King and The Producers and The Color Purple and all of these things that are based on film, which is and television, which is how we actually tell our stories now, right? So I'm getting off track, but what you asked me was like, how do I want to be a teacher? And when I was in theater, there's like, you learn pretty quick, like either you're going to go to Hollywood and be an actor or you're going to act on Broadway. And that's the only way that you're going to make a living as an actor, at least from a high schooler's perspective. And I wasn't sure I was going to make it there. So I thought, well, maybe I'll be a teacher. And that kind of middle school vibe came back to me. And then, when I saw that I actually was making it as an actor and I'd thrown my hat in the ring and it was not a plan. There was not a plan B in place. Like I was at a point where I was trying to get control of some things financially in my life. And I loved being in what we call a voiceover workout group, which this is like a group of peers, however you met. I happened to meet the ones I was involved in the group with through a class that I took. I took an animation class, met a guy that was in that animation class. He was in a weekly group that met in somebody's garage, right? Who had the guy whose garage it was. He has a band that he still tours with every once in a while. And they're just a little local party band that, does bar mitzvahs and, mall openings and things. And he would just set up some of his sound equipment from the band. And he had a basic recording setup in there, and we would just meet every week and practice. Well, in this practice, I was like usually taking the directing chair because I would hear what the other people would do. And in a workout group, it's usually like a bunch of people who don't know what they're doing because we're all still learning, but we just want to practice. I'm a big believer in them, by the way. I think workout groups are awesome for up and coming voice actors. Get involved with your peers. And if you don't have somebody who knows how to direct or who knows what to listen for, you'll just start throwing stuff out and trying to direct, right? Like, oh, could you go up and pitch on this line, or try it like this, or what would it sound like if you were pretending to be doing this? And it's all just like spaghetti against the wall, bloop 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 bloop, and some of it will stick. Sometimes you'll get good direction. But I was listening and I'm like, no, I think this needs XYZ. Specifically, not just try this to see if it gets different, but like, I think what you're missing is in this line.
Okay.
And I started becoming kind of a de facto director for this group. So when, again, going back into the meat of the story, like I was trying to get some financial things together, and I'm like, I loved being a part of that workout group, and I want to run my own, and I want to be the director teacher of it.
Okay.
And I had the great fortune of mentoring with a voice actor by the name of Pat Fraley, who teaches and still does a lot of stuff on his own. Pat's awesome. Amazing. If you've not had him on your podcast, you need to.
We did. We just did a while ago.
Awesome. Pat's incredible. And he literally mentored me. He taught me not only how to be a voice actor, but I gained so much from him on how to be a teacher. The way he taught made sense to me. And so over the last 15 years or so, I started kind of with my own sensibilities, but going through what Pat, the matrix that Pat had given me. And over the last 15 years, I've really developed my own style and come to appreciate, I think I have a gifting for taking a complex idea and turning it into a digestible chunk. Taking something that an actor might be struggling with and being able to say, hey, have you thought of it like this? Okay. And give them a word picture or a metaphor, or break it down for them, and them go, oh, now I get what you mean. And that kind of like reinforcement just made me dive in further and further. When I first started running a workout group, I would say, and I still market myself as a coach, but I was very adamant. I'm not a teacher. You're not taking a class. I am coaching from the sidelines, and I am directing a workout group, but you're not paying education. It was cheap too. Like, you're not paying an educational rate because I don't consider myself a full-fledged teacher. I'm not equipped for that. But now I know I'm a teacher and a coach, and I have the skills, and I can back myself up. Like I'd put myself toe to toe with any of the other teachers that are out there, including Pat, because he's a master. And I feel like I've come to the place now where I can say, yeah, I've taken what he's given me and fostered in me, and I've made it my own. I have no problems calling myself a teacher as well. Okay. Does that answer your question?
I think it does. Yeah.
Because that was a lot. I mean, it was all over the world with that. Kathleen, I need your 3-minute summary of what I just said. Actually, your 60-second summary.
I was too busy crocheting because my ADHD is also acting up.
Gotcha. Should have taken your meds today. Unlike me.
It's just not time for them yet.
No, I get it.
So, I mean, when you ever see Pat now, do you ever see him? Say, the last time we met, I was but a learner, but now I am the master.
Only a master of evil, Tim.
There we go. Okay. That's all I need. I'm good.
Awesome.
I set him up. He knocks him down. That's all I need. Okay.
He gets you, Tim.
I do.
Somebody
We're simpatico.
Somebody has.
Hey, somebody's got to get me. So
I just to put a button on what we just talked about, though, like as I'm sitting here thinking about it, like I really love to teach. I have the great privilege of working with actors across the skill level spectrum. I get folks who are brand new, who've never acted before in their lives, and I get working pros who are like, I don't know why I'm not hitting. I don't know why I'm not making it where I want to. What's missing from my read? And And I've been very, very fortunate to be able to speak to those different skill levels. It's sharpened me as an actor too. There are things that I would have been lazy about in my own auditions, but we worked on similar sides or something this week, and I have to like refocus and go, no, wait a minute. If I was coaching myself, what would I say? What would I say about that read? That I know that's not up to snuff. What does it need? And it just makes me a better actor and teacher to work with all those skill levels. It's so cool. I'm very lucky.
I think that's really very cool, because I think anything that we're going to do, if we're going to be successful at it, there has to be a heart drive to it. You know,
Sure.
you have to have that in your seat of motivation to say, I'm doing this because of this reason, and here's the reason why I'm doing it. And I think that to me, that makes a lot of sense, because it's not just something that you're doing just for kicks and giggles. You're doing it because it's rooted deeper in you from way back when, and it's just another way that it's kind of bubbled up to the surface. So for me, that's a very cool aspect as to why you're doing it. It's not just doing it because, hey, I had some downtime and I needed something to do, you know. So to me, it's always cooler to hear somebody talk about something that's, you know, a passion that has a deep rooted seat in their heart. So I think that's really very cool. So
all right, so Mick, as all of our other questions have been oh so serious, we like to end our show with a silly question.
Ooh, I love silly questions. Let's see if I can come up with a silly answer.
Well, so the one that we've decided most recently has been fun to ask is one that we get asked so much as kids, and then when we're grown-ups, nobody cares anymore, which is a darn shame.
Okay.
Criminal,
So,
if you ask me.
Yes. Mick, what is your favorite dinosaur?
Oh.
See, it's a question you're asked all the time as a kid, and then when you're grown up, nobody cares.
They stop when you're like 12 or 13. I think that was the last time I was asked.
That's a really, really good question, because there are so many that are so cool.
Right?
Yeah. What? Oh, there's one that's on the tip of my tongue, but I don't want to say it wrong.
That's okay. We say a lot of things wrong.
Okay. So I don't know how this came about, but somewhere in my schooling and watching too much television as a child, I learned that Tyrannosaurus Rex was one of a category of dinosaurs that included Allosaurus, who was a little smaller than T-Rex. But I want to say there's a Gorgosaurus?
The Gigantosaurus?
No, Gorgosaurus.
I
don't know, but he looks like a T-Rex. He's just bigger. And he's not, maybe it is Gigantosaurus, but I don't think so.
Hold on a second. I'm looking it up.
See, I said it wrong.
Oh yeah, no, Gorgosaurus.
And he looks like a T-Rex, but he's like kind of round-headed.
Yes.
That's my favorite dinosaur.
Oh.
So hold on a second. Let me.
My second favorite, just for sheer power, and I think is a terribly underrated dinosaur. Oh yes. Yes, there we go. Gorgosaurus, that's my boy right there.
Those are really cool.
That's a cool
boy.
Picture.
The other one that I think is criminally underrated is Ankylosaurus. No, sorry, Stegosaurus, the one with the plates on the back of the tail and the spikes on the back of the plates on its back and the spikes on its tail. Like
looks like he's swinging a mace on the end of his tail.
That's Ankylo. Yeah, I'm thinking of the Stegosaurus with the giant like standing up plates. And his tail has spikes on it, like 2 spikes on either side.
They are really cool.
Stegosaurus. Also, there was a little known there was a little known Marvel villain for Spider-Man that was basically kind of a 1 or 2 shot storyline in the early 80s, maybe the late 70s, with a character named Stegron. And Stegron was basically the Lizard. He was like a colleague of Dr. Connor's. who took the lizard formula but used Stegosaurus DNA instead of lizard DNA and became like the bigger, badder lizard. But then like I'm sure because it's Marvel Comics, they brought him back later, but I remember really liking him, and he was only a 2-shot, like one-off villain. He wasn't like a part of the ongoing rogues gallery for Spidey. So I felt really special that I knew who he was, and all my friends were like,
You're just talking about the lizard. He did that green guy.
No, he was yellow, and he was like dinosaur, and he was awesome.
Oh, no, you're getting it wrong.
So I felt really, really special because I knew who Stegron was.
Nice.
As a one-off. Just the way I feel very special that I know who the Wrath is in the Batman universe. Wrath is one of the many anti-Batman, but he came around in like the late 80s, and his mask is the shape of Batman's, but it's a big W for Wrath. And his origin, his two parents were thieves, and they were killed by a cop in the middle of a robbery. And so he's seeking grim justice, and he's basically Batman, but in purple and brown, of all things, who carries a gun.
That's a hideous color combination.
Right? You're welcome. Also purple and reds. There's sometimes that he's depicted in purple and red, but
so he's part of the Red Hat Society.
Yes. He goes out with all the 80-year-old ladies for tea in his red hat. And he shows up at like concerts and zoo days and things. It's amazing.
I love it. Tim's just like, I don't even know what to do with you guys.
So there you go. That's my answer about my favorite dinosaur.
I love it. I love it because like we've had the reaction of everything from the excitement of the you're not asked that anymore to the who asks that? Like, rude. Because obviously it's one of the coolest questions ever.
Heck yeah.
Like,
what's your favorite dinosaurs? Not for your audience. They already know, I'm sure. There he is. That's not his normal color scheme.
Yeah, that was just the actual extra picture that was shown. So, but it was the best one that showed his. Yeah, this was the best one to show his face. So I picked that one. But yeah.
Yes, my favorite is the Parasaurolophus, and I actually just have a stuffed one on my desk.
Oh, that's so sweet.
They're very cool because they're the ones that could trumpet through their little horns, and they're very fun. Very fun.
Mine was the Triceratops because I've always been a big fan of rhinos, and to me that was like triple rhino. It was just really.
It is a triple rhino,
and then of course there's this guy who's not a dinosaur but also.
No, what is Yoshi? He's a Yoshi.
He's a Yoshi.
Yep. Triceratops is also aesthetically pleasing. He's very symmetrical.
Mm-hmm. He's just very cool looking. Just very. To me, it was like what a bulldog would have been if it would have been a dinosaur.
Right.
You know, the big head, the big shoulders.
Park, that is also the dino that gave us dino droppings.
It is.
Very true.
Because dinosaur poop is very important.
Yes. Droppings? Dino droppings?
Mick, we have enjoyed having you on our show so much again. Thank you so much for being willing to be with us again.
My numero deuce.
Yeah. Go from droppings to deuce. I get it. I see what you did there.
But
reminder viewers and our listeners where they can go to follow you, follow your work.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram as @Mick Wingert. I'm on Threads under the same handle. You can look me up on Blue Sky. I think I'm mickwingert.bluesky.net or however they deal with that. And I do still have a Twitter profile with @Mick Wingert, but I try not to use it for anything except marketing when I'm like doing a live signing event or something. And that's literally just for fans that refuse to leave Twitter, which I don't understand, but it is what it is. So I still maintain my profile so nobody else takes it. But I'm not on there very often. You can find me on Threads and Instagram a lot though. So I'm there.
Awesome. Well, we will definitely link your socials because you've got some cool stuff and there's some more stuff coming and
there are
stuff I know that you can't talk about yet.
I know what's in there. We know what's in there and we can't wait for it to come out. So
awesome.
We'll help promote it when it does. But hey, guys, want to remind you that subscribing is the single most important thing you can do to help our show continue to grow and to get guys like Mick Wingert to come back a second time. See, this is because you guys. And so we're really appreciative of that. But if you haven't yet already, smash that little subscribe button down there. Go ahead and do that. Give it a good click. It wants to be clicked. It needs you to click it. So go ahead, click it.
Consensually smash that like button.
Exactly. And be sure to go check out Mick on socials. Give him a follow there as well. You guys will not be disappointed with what you see because Mick is going to be sharing some really cool stuff here in the near future that he can't talk about now, but we know it's in there. So anyway, we're not saying, but we're just saying. So anyway, Mick, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Because he can't.
Right. Yeah. So thank you for being on the show today. And guys, thank you for watching. That's going to wrap us up here for the FSF Popcast. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Copyright 2024 FSF Podcast. Reference to any specific product or entity mentioned on this podcast does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by FSF Podcast. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. If you have any questions about this disclaimer, please contact us via email at info@fsfpopcast.com.